Okay, I think we are live now. So welcome everyone. Welcome everyone who joined this webinar. So my name is Oleg Saltsalko. I'm I'm the head of program committee at DevOps Ukraine, and today with me we have one of our great top speakers, Yevgen Borisov. Maybe some of you already know Zhenya, because Zhenya is quite I would say famous speaker, especially for Ukrainian developers. Zhenya participated number of conferences before, GConf, Java Day, and also I don't remember, Zhenya, have you participated the DevOps Ukraine before or not? The
Yes,
first
DevOps
iteration.
Days. I think it was DevOps Days, something like 5 years ago.
Okay. Okay, cool.
After
So
DevOps
I'm
Day was
super
on the
excited to
CTF,
have
replaced it with DevOps Days. Yeah.
so I'm super excited to have Zhenya back, joined the DevOps Ukraine this year. So it's super cool. And today we have this webinar as the I would say first part of the talk, of the talk about remake of Spring the Builder powered by AI. So that was maybe Zhenya will tell about that, but that was quite a famous talk about the Spring the Builder. And this is like a remake of the Spring the Builder but powered by AI. So today I guess the ChatGPT will be helping Zhenya to write the code, right? So yeah, I mean, welcome everyone, and welcome Zhenya. And and also you can see the QR code at the top corner, right, at the top right corner. So for those of you who haven't registered to DevOps Ukraine yet, so please use that QR code to register for the event. So during the event, it will be basically continuation of today's talk. It will be basically part two or continuation, but Zhenya will tell more details on that. So please, Zhenya, welcome, and I'll pass the words to you.
Okay, so can I start?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
I just
Go
checked
ahead.
the meeting I have, so we have 1 hour and a half. I think it's enough for the first part of the talk. Uh, do I share my screen?
Yes, we can see it. Yeah, we can see the
Okay,
presentation right now.
great. So thank you, Oleg, for the introduction. Actually, I'm really excited today. Long time ago, I was excited the last time. Maybe one of the reasons that because it's my first official talk. All my life, I have provided, I think, about 100 talks, maybe more. But it was only my initiative. And my managers from the previous companies where I was working, they didn't care about if I'm speaking in some conferences or not. But today I'm doing the talk as is my primary job. Okay. So as Oleg mentioned, this talk already happened several years ago, I think about 3 years ago. And the purpose of the talk was to understand how Spring works from inside. And in order to do that, we wrote something similar to Spring Framework during the talk when we were solving some task. So we will do today the same, but it will be a different task. No matter that we'll write more or less the same framework like Spring. But today we will work differently. One of the main points for myself is to check if ChatGPT can help in such a tasks. If it will be useful, if it will spend my time, if the solution will be with better quality, and so on and so on. And except from that, in the modern world, any solution we selling to our clients in EPAM, if it's not have a seal of powered by AI, Clients doesn't like it. They say, but it's 2023 and we already have ChatGPT. How are you working without powered by AI solutions? Okay, so now we'll try to do powered by AI solution of Spring the Builder, GPT Remake. So before I'll introduce myself, I want to save time for the people who may be by mistake here. So I want to explain for what people is this talk for. So first of all, you guys who want to know how to work with ChatGPT, if you are interested in my personal experience, so this is talk for you. We'll do a lot of things with ChatGPT during this talk, and we'll try to understand if it can improve our ability to coding and many other abilities as well. The guys who interested in deep understanding of Spring framework and why we need to use it like we use it, this is talk for you. The guys who love beautiful object-oriented code and want to understand how it's where is value for money from beautiful code, or just for ourselves. So we'll talk about that as well. And finally, everybody who want to be a better engineer than it was, welcome. I'll try to help with that as well. Okay. So my name is Evgeny Borisov. I'm in this Java industry more than 20 years. For the last several years, I'm working inside EPAM, but more than 10 years, I'm working outside of the EPAM as well. And our company was in Israel, and EPAM bought it, happily for the company and for me as well. For the last almost 2 years, 1 year and a half, I'm living in USA, in Franklin. And since this summer, my official title is Developer Relations Lead. So who is not familiar what is DevRel? To make long story short, DevRel is about bringing happiness to the world of developers, but still we want that company will have the revenue. Okay, so we doing it by providing a lot of extra activities like conferences, hackathons, webinars, and everything you can think about, which is relevant to developers' world. This is us. We try to find some explanation in one sentence what is DevRel, and this is the best one we have till now. Okay, it's generated from infinite wisdom of ChatGPT. So DevRel is the program and set of different kind of activities within and outside of the organization that interact with developers in their journey with the company. So this is you, this is me, and we together, everybody, we are doing DevRel. And if you have new ideas and you want to share them, you want to help to make the world better, please, we already created community in VR community. For now, for me, it's just a container for the people who want to participate. So you can just enter, read several sentences about DevRel. It's not too much information there. We just started. But you can add yourself, join the community, and someday I will come to you and I will speak with you and I'll ask you what you think we can improve in our company, which additional activities it can provide, and so on and so on. Okay, so it was about introduction. And the last thing, I just want to explain how DevRel is working because it will be related to my task. One of the things we are doing, except from some global activities, helping to the conferences, bringing professionals from one place to another, reorganizing, thinking about additional events. But in addition, we trying to come to problematic locations with a lot of challenges and pains and try to improve the situations there, okay? So maybe someday we will come to your country as well. I'm everybody from different countries, right? But the main purpose is to cover the world with 100% of our activities. So when we come to the location, we analyze the current situation. We decide which activity is a crucial one in order to help to solve the pains. Then we prepare the content for this activity. Then we deliver this activity. Then we collect the feedback. We measure the results, see how we improve. And then we continue work with these cycles. Okay, so today's task, because in order to write a framework like Spring, we cannot just do that, because why do I need framework if I don't have any task? So first of all, we need to think about some tasks we're going to implement, and then in order to make our code beautiful, we will need in some moment to write some infrastructure, and then we will start developing Spring. So our task, before I go to the task, I want to say two small disclaimers. So disclaimer number one, I love useful talks, so I'm trying to bring some advices, but now I'm in a very dangerous situation, because all this world of LLMs is very, very new. And for example, advices I gave to the people half a year ago can seriously change from the advices I give them today. Okay, so all advices you will see and all you will hear here is just my personal experience. It can be wrong, and it can change with the time. But I'm trying to find some ways how we should be friends with these new AI robots. And additional disclaimer: something can go wrong during this talk or later. I thought a lot if I'm taking a risk to do everything like live, and 2 days ago I decided it's not a good idea, because ChatGPT is not consistent, and every time it provides me some different solutions in different places with different problems. But then I said, I want to be honest with the people. I don't want to bring, something which I fixed at home and prepared, and it looks good, but finally when you will try to do the same, it will not work. So I will try to go live. Okay, I have a lot of backups. I have one screen with several prompts I'm going to write, not to spend your time just to copy paste them. I have the history, which I closed several hours ago in my night, in case if something, if ChatGPT will fail, so we'll have a backup option to see the history and to copy paste from the history like we do it in live. But I hope we will do it honestly without any backups. Let's see what will happen. So this is the task we're gonna implement. It's for myself. Okay, I want that someday the development department will have that pretty girl. Her name is Devrelza, and the only method she need to provide for me is execute the Devrel strategy. Okay, it consists from 4 steps. Choose most crucial activity, collect metrics before we do the activity, deliver activity, and collect metrics after the activity. Okay, the collecting metric is the most complicated and one of the important things, at least for my managers, because otherwise they don't understand why we are doing the conferences, because where is the value for the company? Okay, but finally we can prove it with the metrics, so it's very important to me to have it in my code. Okay, let's finally go and see what I already created till now, and we'll start with ChatGPT writing our tasks. Okay, let me see if you have any questions in the chat. Okay. Okay, so as you can see, my project is almost clean. I'm starting always with the POM to show you that except from the Lombok, I didn't brought any dependencies. At least till now, and I have only like kind of POC, 4 classes and 5 classes for interfaces. So let's start from the main. So in main, we just creating the Devrelza and ask from Devrelza to execute the Devrelza strategy. Let's see what happens, and then we will analyze the code. So starting the Devrel activity, first of all, we need to understand which activity is most crucial. Most crucial is to engage new speakers, okay? Because, for example, in some locations, EPAM doesn't have enough speakers. So, for example, in the location we run in the Devrelza, this is exactly the problem. Then we provide in node tech sessions. Then we gather in best potential speakers and provide in speak courses. And now we measure in the final result, and we see it was improved by 300 dev dollars. Okay, let's say that dev dollars will be our currency. We need some currency to measure that Devrel is better. Okay, so how the execute Devrel strategy method implemented? Let's see if we have beautiful object-oriented code. So it consists of these 3 actually steps. So first of all, I have the analyzer here, which can find the name of the most crucial activity. Then I have metric collector to collect metrics, and here we have the DevRel dollars before. Then I have the producer which produce the DevRel activity, and then we can calculate the difference with some formula and to print how many dev dollars we received after this DevRel activity was performed. Okay, and now before I start speaking about beautiful object-oriented code and solid principles, let's try to remember why do we need it at all and what can be the characteristics of good code. Let's go back to the presentation, and this is an answer. Code standards are: code should be flexible, reusable, and readable. Let me spend half a minute of your time because maybe there is a new comers which have no experience to work 20 years ago and didn't remember why this rules was created. But to be honest, in the beginning, I don't think that when Java was released the first time, somebody thought about these rules. I remember in the beginning of 2000 when I started coding in company where we created an application for mobile phones, we created there were no versioning. Never. You develop something like a Snake for your mobile phone, and you don't need to think about that code should be readable and code should be reusable because I have only 1 week to finish this application. When I will finish, we will put it inside the phone, we'll close it inside the phone, and we'll give it to the customer, and I can forget forever about this task. Because when someday somebody will say, wow, Snake was a good game, now you need version 2, it will not be version 2 in the meaning of today. It will be totally new application because it will be provided for the new telephone, for the new API, with new features. And every time I'm beginning from scratch. Okay, if today somebody will think about some application which is sending you a message that it was last update and there is no more updates because all features was implemented, I think you will delete this application in the same day because you understand that their company is bankrupt and it's not alive. The code which is not developing is dead code. This is the rules of today because we are living in the continuous delivery world. And in order to survive in this world, we need these free rules. Code should be flexible because I'm changing it every time. I have new features. Somebody finds the bug. We want to improve performance. So I'm every time working on the code that already exists. I'm not mean that I'm open in the classes and broken open-close principle every time, but we adding things around. And sometimes we do changes related to the single responsibilities of the classes we change. Next thing, code should be reusable. Okay, that's why I try to encapsulate the logic of different activities. For example, method collect is not part of the logic of the Relza. It just delegates to metric collector because I want to reuse metric collector in another services as well, maybe. Okay, so code should be reusable, code should be flexible, and code should be readable in order to maintain it. And after people understood that it should be the rules, they invented the solid. And why do we need the solid? Because solid, if you work by the solid, it's not always easy. Maybe there is a situation when it's almost not possible, but we're trying to work with solid. And if we have success with that, we don't have a problem with these three flexible, reusable, and readable points. Okay. I know that you know solid, so I'm not going to explain you all these letters. Maybe the most important just to remind. For example, single responsibility, I love it the most because every time when you broke some other rules, you will see that single responsibility 99% will be broken as well. So this, how can I analyze if my code is good or not? But let me just prove you that single responsibility is good. It's very convenient to prove something when you try to say what will happen if it will be the opposite. Think about multi-responsibility is a rule for everybody, for every class, for every method. Any class, any instance should be responsible for everything in the system. Okay, so it will be a lot of connection between all the objects because everybody is responsible for everybody. And now you have a bug fix, or you have some new feature to develop. How many classes you need to change now? You need to change everything because everything connected to everything, and this is very expensive change. And this is what our company want to avoid. We need fast, continuous delivery and a single responsibility, which is opposite from the multiple responsibility, is our solution. Okay, in case every class has only one responsibility, in the ideal world, only one change should be provided because of one problem and not change everything. Okay, so now let's go back to our Devrelza and let's see if we work by single responsibility. Before I'll ask you to save our time, let's ask in parallel ChatGPT what does he think about that. Let me open again the Devrelza class. By the way, I didn't show you what is in the top, because where from we take this analyzer and metric collector and producer. I just decided that first of all, it's very important that all my fields will be on interfaces, right? Because we want flexible code, right? We work by the standards of a flexible code. So this is interfaces. If tomorrow the Devrelza will decide to work with different implementation of a metric collector, I will be needed to change it only here. But because I'm working against interface, there is no chance that something will be changed in the code, because it's the same methods, no matter what kind of implementation is here. By the way, if you look why it's so positive, we can see that it's kind of mock optimistic metric collector, which always have the positive result. Okay, just for mocking to have a good mood for me, that I see that always we're improving something. But it's just for the mocking, not in the real world. So we have some initial metrics, we have some delta, and we have the counter just to check if we calling it first time or not. Because if it's the first call, we return the initial metrics. If it's not first call, the counter will increase it because we multiply it by delta and by initial metrics as well. Okay, so always we have better result when we call the collect the next time, just for fun. Okay, so I'm always happy that I see some positive numbers here. Okay, so let's go back and let's in order to save the time, I'm take from my first prompt the question, which concept of from I read it again. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna ask. You see, it's ChatGPT 4. We totally in the new in new chat, and now I'm just copy pasting this class, which looks fine, right? It looks fine. It's several lines of code. It's very clean. I even don't need to provide some comments because it's very understandable by the names. I work mostly only with interfaces. What can be wrong here? So let me ask ChatGPT why I'm asking this question. Why I'm not asking something else? Because, as I told, what is important for me is reusable, flexible, readable. I know that in order to do that, I need to work by solid. So the only thing is interesting to know is if I broke some rules from the solid. Let's see what will be the answer. So he says the solid principle, blah, blah, blah. Now he start to explain what is solid. Wow, something can go wrong. This is the first time I think I invoke this prompt about 30 times, and this is the first time I see different result. Very interesting. Okay, I don't understand why it's so slow today, but let's meanwhile let me ask you, because the main rule is the single responsibility. Can you please count me and say and write it to the chat how many responsibilities you can see in this class? Okay, let's do in parallel ChatGPT 3. What's it's like everybody today using ChatGPT in this time, because I never saw it so slow in the last days. Okay. Broken solid single responsibility. Okay, the most broken concept from the solid is the single responsibility. Good, guys. Okay. Single responsibility. Okay, let's see what you answered. What is your answer? How many responsibilities did you count? 3, 4, 3, 4, 2, 3. Okay, guys, more. It's much more than 3 or 4. Another try. Let's see what the answer from the ChatGPT 4. Seems to break several principles of solid, single responsibility. Okay, and dependency inversion principle. Okay, great. So a lot of things is broken, but mainly because of single responsibility. So let me calculate together with you. Let me take you. No, 9. Okay, 9 is much better, but it's even more than 9. It's very funny how it can be more than 9 because it's only 4 lines of code and 3 declarations. So it's 7. How it can be more than 9? Okay, so let me calculate. So first of all, it's very good that we have metrics collector, which is an interface, but who now is responsible for taking the decision which of the implementations should be used? Today, we don't see the code which decide how to pick up the correct implementation, but it's today because today we have only one implementation. If tomorrow it will be several implementations of metric collector, the responsibility of the developer will be to maintain some code which will evolve every time when we have additional implementations. And this code will be responsible to decide how we pick up the correct implementation. So one. Then the next thing, if we decided that we want to work with optimistic metric collector, the developer today has a responsibility to know and to manage the code which create this object. Today, in order to create optimistic metric collector, the only thing we need to do is just to use new and empty constructor. But it's today, we're just in the beginning. If tomorrow the author of optimistic metric collector will decide to switch to design pattern builder, and now it will be, instead of new, some different code, we will need to change code in developer because developer is responsible for creation of optimistic metric collector. Okay, if the author of optimistic metric collector will decide to switch to homemade singleton, and now it will be not new but get instance method or something else, it's again the responsibility of the developer to know about that. So they are coupled together. It's no matter that I'm using interface in my code, it's better than nothing, but I still need to know everything about implementation because I'm responsible for its creation. And the last thing regarding the optimistic metric collector, I need to know how to configure it because maybe it's not enough just to create it, even with builder or with new or no matter what the way. But maybe I need some set this, and only then I can start using it. And this is again my responsibility of the realizer. So 3 things, again, only one line, which is line number 5. The same 3 things about this line, the same 3 things here. So we have 9 responsibilities because we have 3 objects. And in addition, we need to know how to execute the real strategy. It seems like a small piece of work in comparison to the factory of these objects. Okay, and it can be even more than 10 because today we have only 3 implementations, but if tomorrow we'll have 100 of different implementations of these interfaces, it will be responsibility of the Relza to know everything about each responsibility because she's creating it, she's deciding, she's configuring. Okay, who is she? Okay, now, so I'm glad that ChatGPT is think like me that single responsibility is broken here. And now let's go back to the presentation. Let me ask you, who should create these objects? It's not responsibility of the developer. So what should be the name of the classes? For example, who should create metric collector? Who's responsible for that? I'm not wasting your time to check what you have written to the chat because I know that you wrote some factory. Okay. Now, in order to understand, I want to remind ChatGPT is one of the important things for me in this talk. But in addition, I want to talk about Spring as well because that's what I promised. In order to understand Spring good, we need to go back to the age when all these concepts were invented, and to understand how they reached this concept, what was before that. So in the beginning of 19, and I saw a lot of code like this, people didn't understand what the point of object-oriented. They saw Java like another Pascal, but with different syntax a little bit. And it was a lot of static methods, but it was only in the beginning. Then people understood that Java is not for that. We need to think differently. We need to work with objects, and everybody created object for himself and configured for himself and copy pasted a lot of code of configurations, and it was a mess, but who cares till we have the versioning world and we need to maintain code. And then it was a lot of different patterns and a lot of books, and people started reading them. And then they got the idea that factory pattern is very good pattern because it can take the responsibility of the infrastructure code to some other place. And then our services and other classes are just without infrastructure logic and pure business logic. Not exactly, but let's say. But the idea of the factory, if we have a lot of different classes, and in order to create the object from these classes, we need a lot of factories. So what will happen? For the metric collector, I have metric collector factory. For analyzer, I have analyzer factory. Now, the Vrelza, maybe I should create the Vrelza with the Vrelza factory. And what if I want to create factory? I need factory. And it was very known meme, but it was the picture of Picard. Now I cannot use the pictures from the internet, so I'm drawing them with some bots. But it was meant like this. I wanted to use Java, and now I have only one big problem factory. Okay, so let's go with the evolution of object-oriented to 2003, something like that. I think it was around these years. Object factory. We don't need to know 1,000 factory names. We have only one object factory. Maybe it will encapsulate a lot of additional factories. I don't care. I mean, I don't care like a developer of business code. But I was told by my managers, you will never create your objects. I'm not mean objects like person, right? I mean objects which contains business logic, okay, like services, like managers, like controllers. You will not create them with new. You will use some create object method of some main infrastructure class, which usually was called object factory or application factory or application or something like that. And the method was create object or get instance or create instance. And every big company in 2003 developed their custom framework. Usually it was like that. Part of this framework became open source and became things like Spring. But in the beginning, each developed his own bicycle, his own solution. But the idea of the solution was the same. We have one central point for the object creations, and we need some object. We go to the central point and ask from that, not creating by new. Otherwise, I'm taking the responsibility of infrastructure when I'm doing that. Okay, so let's try to ask from ChatGPT to generate some factory for us in order that we will be able to replace our new with the factory. Do not criticize the solution before we go to the end, because we just in 2003, right? We before inversion of control. We don't know what is inject. We just are trying to understand what is factory, because even in today's world, the factory still exists. All these patterns are still with us. They just under the hood. Okay. And maybe it will be someday when, like today, you don't care about assembly or bytecode you don't care you much in high level. But in today's world, I still see the importance to understand how all these patterns work inside our infrastructure, because every time when developer use just copy paste for some annotations of infrastructure without understanding how it's really working, every time he or she has a problem, people doesn't know how to solve it, because it's like, you're driving the car, something happened, you open, you see on the motor, so whoa, I don't know how it's working. Okay, let's go for some help. 911. Okay, so I want you to be able to solve the problem by yourself. Okay, so let me go to the next prompt. Let me take it. And I'm very excited which solution I will have now, because it's always surprised me. Let's go to 4 and let's read meanwhile. Write class object factory. We should be eager singleton, okay, like the people like to work in 2003, okay, because I'm thinking about one central point. If it's one central point, the object factory, it should be available from any place, so it should be kind of eager singleton. Everybody use it, so it not should be lazy. We need to create it immediately. So eager singleton with method create object, which will receive a type. The type can be class or interface, and will create an instance. In case type is interface, okay. Let's see what I mean here. So it will be like, we will have here. That's what I want to get finally. I want that I have some object factory, right? Get instance, then create object. I'm not going to implement create object, okay? I leave it to ChatGPT, but he's right, and I meanwhile just want to see where I will take his code and where I will use it. And here it will be every line of code with the proprietary interface. So here it will be devrel action producer, and here I will ask for devrel analyzer. Okay, so why I'm showing it to you, just to make more clear how my object factory should work like, and to mention that most of the chances that the objects which will use object factory to get something, they will call create object and will provide only the name of the interface. The developer shouldn't know about what implementation is working for this particular client, okay, or which implementation should be used in the staging environment, okay. It's not the responsibility of the developer. So most of the people will come with interface here. It can be contract class, but it can be an interface. Because of that, I told ChatGPT that where it was. This is an answer here. Because of that, I say which can be class or interface, and will create an instance. And I'm explaining that in case type is an interface, ask some config about I can ask it. Okay, let's see what we have got here. So now we have the object factory, which is eager singleton. It has a private constructor because it's eager singleton, and get instance method. Great. Now create object. Class. Okay, I usually use type here. Okay, and it sometimes use type, sometimes use class. Okay, it's very old convention, class. Okay, if class is interface, it's taken from config implementation, exactly like I said. And then it takes some empty constructor and a new instance, and otherwise it just making the new instance of this class. Okay, very simple. And in config it contains some map, which I can fill here, and I have even example how it should be done. Just with put my interface class against my implementation class. This is how I can fill this map. Okay, looks like it can work. This is again, wow, he's doing it on purpose. I'm telling you, 20 times I tried to do it at home. I never, no, this version I saw. I'm sorry, I saw this version. It's a little bit different, but I saw this version. Okay. Now let's go back to IntelliJ. Let's see if this object factory can help. Object factory. I see some compilation problems. Do you know why do we have them? We have them because the create object throws an exception, and every time when somebody uses this method, Get instance. Well, get instance is not good. Because we don't need you. I'm sorry. I just didn't delete it. Now we will be able to understand what are the problems we have. And we can see them here. Okay, so I think that nobody will happy to handle the exceptions of create object, because this line of code will be the most popular line of code. It's like to say every time when you do something with your object, check if you don't have null pointer exception. Okay, I don't want to have try and catch about each line of the code. So I want to improve it, but maybe we can improve something in addition. Let me take. Here is an example of what else. Yeah. One more thing. It's an object here, right? I think it's not convenient for the people to make a casting by themselves, right? So let me improve this prompt. I already took this solution, so I can now use an edit here. And maximum, if the next solution will be worse after my edit, I already have this code here, and maybe I will fix it by myself. I'm not sure that I can tell you the magic number, but I think if after 4 tries, I'm not receiving after regenerate something which is closer than I have, I'm saying, okay, I'm doing it by myself. I'm just wasting my time. But for now, I will try to improve this prompt, and will say, write an object factory, blah, 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 which will receive a type. Use generics. Let's say if generics will be enough. And in the end, say, use sneaky throws. This is my style. I love sneaky throws. I wanted to check if I will say something like, in the beginning, I will provide some rules I want to keep, like explain to the ChatGPT, I love work with sneaky throws. I love work in the style of stream API. It not really helps. He forget. Sometimes he forget, and even sometimes he forget in the same question. Okay, because of that, I need to keep it in mind and to fix it if I need. Use sneaky throws. Okay, let's say save and submit. Meanwhile, maybe we can ask the ChatGPT 3 the same question with my fixes. It seems good with ChatGPT 3 as well. You see, now we have the generic here, and we have the sneaky throws, and there is no exceptions. Okay, so let me take this code. Wow, we can make a competition between ChatGPT 3 and ChatGPT 4. Never thought about it in this talk. Now let me go to our object factory, and let me close the window. Okay. Okay, and now let's go back here. Okay, now it seems much better. And what I'm gonna do next, actually, I can go to the config class. Where is the config class, by the way? Create object, implementation class. No, it's not good. It's not good. It's ChatGPT 3. You see, I asked him for config. I didn't want to break the single responsibility and make our factory not only responsible for object creation, but also for all related to the config logic. So I don't love this solution because of that I'm having the map of interface against implementation in the object factory. It will work, but everything which can go wrong in the real talk will go wrong. But I have a lot of backups. Don't worry. And we have still a lot of time. And we have additional part of this talk. Okay, let's see what ChatGPT 4 created. What? Okay, Let give him another chance. We'll receive type is generic, and we'll create an instance. Word was about config. Ask some config config. Actually, let's try again the same. Let's try again the same here as well. Maximum I can say config should be a separate class because he continues to make it here. So I can even say again regenerate. No, he always want to do the map here. Very interesting. Never saw that in ChatGPT 4 except from today. Always something new is good. The things are not stable like we expected. Logic of binding. Maybe it's because I changed from binding to mapping. That's what I've done. Logic of binding should be in separate config class. And let's take this to ChatGPT 4. Okay, no, ChatGPT 4 gave us a good solution. Now we have the config and object factory, and it's look much better. It's look much better, but now I don't have a map. This is one of the problems, that we have something better but something worse. Because of that, I'm always thinking that it's the best way, if we can do like that, to work with very small parts, to ask something about particular method, a particular class, not to do a lot of things together. But I'm still not sure, so we'll try. Okay, no matter. Let's go with this solution. I think it's good enough, because the next thing I thought, okay, object factory again. The config class should not be in the same file, right? We will move it to another class, and then we will put the logic again. Okay, so I prefer to work like this. We can say that object factory is more or less good enough. Okay, it works against config. It use sneaky throws. It use generics. In case we have an interface, we asking for an implementation. Okay, now we creating, and okay, we have the casting here. No matter. Okay, looks good. Now let's think about what we will have inside the config. Inside the config, we will have a map which will have a binding. But in the most of the cases, can I see example of this map? No matter. Where was the example? No matter. So most of the bindings will be like person service import, user service import. Why that? Because in most of the cases, actually, we have only one implementation, right? We still work with an interface because we never know where the client or somebody else will want the flexibility. So it's good to work against interfaces, but in 80%, at least in the beginning, we have only one implementation per each interface. And to provide this information, person is binding to person impl, this binding to this impl, is redundant. Maybe we can think about some generic config which will scan the project, scan the particular packages we will say him, and we'll find, in case we have only one implementation, he will bind them automatically. And in case we have more than one implementation, then we will remember that we had a map, and we will think about how can we fill this map from some external property or XML or JSON file, something like that. So let's write the next prompt. Let's improve the config class. Let's go. ChatGPT 3, you are faster, so you will start. And ChatGPT 4, you are slow, so meanwhile we will read. Let's improve the config class. In case map doesn't contain any binding, we can scan packages. We can scan packages and hope that only one implementation will be in the class path. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Okay, reflections library, I love that. Because in standard Java reflections, you cannot scan packages easily. You need to write a lot of classes related to class loaders, and you don't want to do that. So we need to use the library he used. And what ChatGPT 3 said? ChatGPT 3 scan packages for implementations. Okay, but how? Okay, the reflections are the same. Okay, very good. Oh, he even checked that the implementation he received is not abstract. Wow. Okay, let's compare. What do we love more? So let's read from the beginning. He's writing object factory again, but I not need it. I'm looking on the config. So first of all, I do have the map, and I have the reflections object. Reflections is kind of it will be used like a scanner. And he says you need to put here your package name, because that's how you configure your scanner to look on the particular package and sub packages of this top level package. Then the public method, I have the only public method, get implementation for the type. It's first of all, he's trying to take it from the map, very good. But in case it's not in the map, for example, now our map is empty and we don't want to fill it because we have only one implementation for each interface. So if implementation is empty, he's taking the scanner, the reflections object, and trying to find all subtypes of this type. And now we have the implementing classes. And wow, thank you for separating, for splitting for different exceptions. When I did the same by myself, I just said it's good to be done, but we don't have time. Okay, so it's benefit. ChatGPT always have time, not always me. So we're still waiting when he will finish. He will finish. So the first exception, in case we have more than one implementation, he will say more than one implementation found for this type. And here it will be illegal state exception, no implementation found for, okay, looks good, looks good. Let me try to take this config class. I don't want to break my object factor because it was good for me. Or maybe, no, it didn't actually change a lot. So let's just take the config class. Let's go back here. Let's create config. And all imports is above. I don't have a choice. No matter. Import class, sneaky throws, reflections. Maybe I can rename it to scanner to make it more clear. Maybe later. Hash map. Okay, what's wrong here? Maybe we can fix it with IntelliJ, something like this. No. Okay. What this method really return? Set of classes. No, it's something wrong with that. What? Did you saw that? I can write like this, but I'm asking for IntelliJ, extract it, and now it's a problem. If you can help me to solve this, maybe because of not enough sleeping, I'm missing some stupid problem. Actually, I'm not sure that the problem really exists. Set of classes. Maybe the signature. Yeah. I can meet it. Let's go and see. It's generated by chat relax. Okay. Actually, you are not right, because most of the cases, the code I received from it was at least without compilation problems. It's because I have some private here, and it's not static. Now it will be, no, still was a problem, but it's not related to this. But I think it may be some problem of IntelliJ. I'm not sure it really exists. Let's try to compile it. Yeah, it was a problem of IntelliJ. Thank you, IntelliJ. I know why it's happening. IntelliJ afraid that I will love ChatGPT more than him, and then he tried to say the code you got from the ChatGPT is wrong, but actually it's IntelliJ wrong. In this case, I don't love to say that. No. Incompatible types. Okay, so maybe something wrong with it, with the type. No. Interface, get type. Implementation class. Okay, reflections was created. Reflections use the method I use in all my life. Get subtypes off. And we providing the type, which is class. No. Oh, I don't love it, but I need to cheat if you will not help me. Otherwise, we will spend a lot of time. Yes, it returns the set. Because as I told, even if we will do like this, we can see what we have here. Types. It's IntelliJ extracted like this. It's set of classes which implements or extends from the class I provided as a superclass here. So let me see. Now I have two solutions. Solution number 3. I can continue with ChatGPT till he will give me the good solution. I can write it by myself, but you know that. And I can try to fix it, and I can try to find existing prompt and want to see the comparison. Let's see. This is the history of yesterday. When I asked for the config, let's see where the config starts from. Here, class config. In the beginning, it was with map. And then I again asked to improve it to make it with scanner. And here we can see the scanner, the reflections. And it looks like exactly the same code. Let's try to take this method here. Let's see if some difference. It's related to the signature. Now I see. It was, yes, I didn't pay attention. T, and it can be something, extends T, or T as well. No, I need to be clear. I'm sorry. Something extends. No? I'll take it. Why it's public? It was private there. Why it's private? I don't understand what the difference here. We doesn't need to. Okay, let's just make it public. Okay. Get impl. What was the name from the chat? You know what? I prefer to stay with his solution. Otherwise, I will have the prompt which is not correlating with mine. Let give him another. It's ChatGPT-4. It will take too much time. How many things need to be taken in account? Okay. Get info class. What was there? Let's go back to Refactoring. Get implementation class. That was the name. Get implementation class. Okay, now let's try to run it and let's see if maybe it's already working. Command. Okay. Was not configured. Okay, this is easy to solve because nobody knows except from us what the packages we should scan. For now, I will hard code it, but don't worry. In the end of the second part, we will fix everything. Nothing will be hard coded. It will not be static methods. Everything will be from external configuration or parameters. But now we just need to, okay, wow, it's working. I didn't understand what was the stupid mistake of the generic, but as you can see, we have something which is working. And let me just check if it's really related to what we have done. If, for example, we'll create another implementation of our, let's say, metric collector. Now it will be more than one implementation. Metric collector 2. I don't care what you do. Now I anticipated for exception. Okay, and it says more than one implementation found for metric collector. Great. Okay. Before we'll fix it, let me summarize what we get till now, and maybe we will try to have some rules about how we work with ChatGPT, what we understood from it. Except that it's not so so simple and a little bit excited, especially for me. Okay, so we have two options. How do we work with ChatGPT? The most popular, in my opinion, and we should change this most popular approach, is to work like you can see in this scenario. So we start from the asking question, then we're receiving some answer which maybe not good. We analyze the answer, we check it, it doesn't work, it doesn't compile. We find what's wrong, then we improve the question, and then we ask again. And each iteration of this cycle, like in the beginning, it was some answer, then we improved the question, and now we have the better answer, then we improved it even more, and we have even more better answer, but it's still not good, it still doesn't compile, it still doesn't work. And then we want to clarify something, and trust me, and I'm doing it by myself sometimes, before I invented this rule, to clarify something in the same chat. I mean, for example, I'm asking something, and in the answer, I see some term or some concept I'm not familiar enough or not familiar at all. And I want to clarify about this concept. It's not related to my question in the context of the task, but it's interesting for me, for example, to understand something more deeper. And I'm asking in the same place. And then again, I'm going back to the questions and I'm doing in the same process. So finally, do you familiar, like feeling like this, that you have super long history of the chat since you began and several hours already passed? and all the room is in fire and your brain is in fire, and you still don't have some answer which can be used. Do you familiar with that situation? And what is worse from that is several things. So first of all, you feel frustrated. You didn't complete the task and you were tired because you every time analyze the results of ChatGPT and trying to understand what's wrong. But we have additional problem. Think about that the chat history can be very useful in case we keep it clean and useful. In case we don't have all the wrong answers inside. Maybe we can learn something from the history of our chat. Maybe we can, after several weeks, go back to some task and in order to fix something or to improve something, and it will be very easy for me to look on the chat which helped me to create this particular class I'm gonna fix and to remind everything about it. How will you use this history if it will look like this, with a lot of not relevant things and with 80% of wrong answers with mistakes? Or think about that somebody will come to you and will say, do you know how to develop this thing? And you will say, yes, I know. Give me a moment. Couple of days ago, I asked ChatGPT something and let me find it. And you will not find it because it's a long history of the chat and maybe you will find, but it will be one screen after the real thing you try to find, because this looks similar but with some mistake, and you give to your friend something with mistake because you don't have a good history prompt. Or think about that, no matter, it's a lot of examples I can provide. I think you can think about yourself that it's not good for the current moment when I'm trying to analyze. No, I have to provide one more example. Think about that you started and it's good and you're trying to improve and you say, okay, and add this and this and this, and in some moment it stopped working. And you say, okay, let's go back to the last working version. And it seems like this branch was a mistake. I tried to ask him to do also these things, but now I understand it should be done differently. So let's go back to this point where it was, but where it was, I don't remember where was the last good prompt, because I have a mess like this. So what I suggest you can do, another approach. You ask the question, you get some answer, you analyze the answer, you find what's wrong, you see it doesn't compile, you find what's wrong, you see how you can fix your prompt. But in order to ask additional question, you just edit in the answer. And the idea is that no matter how many times you edit the answer, your prompt is still clean. Think about it. It's very simple advice, but think about it logically. If you have wrong answer with mistakes which doesn't satisfy you, why to keep it there? Okay, so in this approach, when you will finish and when you have the good answer or good enough answer in order to say, okay, I'm stopping here, this task, thank you ChatGPT, from here I will complete by myself. And in this prompt you have only the relevant answer you decided you want in there. Okay, every time when I'm receiving some good result and I say, okay, I want to continue, I want to improve it, but this result is good, it's very important for the history, for my understanding how we started from point A and now we're in point Z, what was in B, C, D, and other letters. So each letter which is important for me, like a checkpoint, I will not edit the question. I will remain in there and will add additional one. Okay, so here we have the rule number one with a lot of things around. Keep your chat history clean and useful. And it means several things. First of all, don't continue asking when getting wrong answer. Edit existing question. Next thing, continue asking only if received result is valuable for your question. It's not only important that you receive something interesting and good. It's important that it's relevant to this conversation. Maybe you receive some result and say, wow, what a cool code, but I'm not going to use it. He used byte body. This library is prohibited by us, but it's very interesting solution. I want to keep it. So keep it. You need to have some Google Doc or some other thing which is not related to your specific task, but your knowledge base. Okay, but don't keep it in this particular chat if it's not relevant. Okay, if some parts of the result are valuable, it can be like that. You're receiving some sheet, but among the sheet there is a good pieces of code which finally you got from the ChatGPT. So just take them before editing and copy paste them to IntelliJ, like I did now with that class. Before I start editing, I said, it's not bad, but I want to edit several things here. But let me make a checkpoint. Let me take it to IntelliJ. If I will break it, after my editing it will be worse, I can copy paste it back from IntelliJ and say, this is my last prompt. Continue from that. Now, very important that if you're fixing something in the middle, everything which is after it will disappear. For example, you see, for example, here I ask something ChatGPT. If I'll go and I'll fix, let's say here I'm fixing something. Не працует, короче. See, all history chat disappeared. So you need to take it in account, and it can be good and bad. You can use it for both ways. So from one hand, don't do that by mistake. I remember it happened several times to me when somebody asked me something and I say, I know it's in ChatGPT. Here we go. This is the place. And somebody looks and say, can you change it? Can you add this clarification? And I'm doing it like an idiot, and all the history disappeared after that. Okay? Or it can be like you asking something, can you please help me to edit my prompt? And he say, go up. Here, from here you need to fix your prompt. I'll fix you, I'll help you. And everything disappeared. Okay, so be aware of this. From the other hand, it's very useful that it's clean the history, because this is how I can keep my history clean. Because if I reach some point and say, okay, from here I can go with CGLib or I can go with ByteBuddy. I can use different libraries because ChatGPT provided me one solution, but talking about another as well, mentioning. Okay, let's go with the branch, and then I go, and I see, okay, no, this way was totally wrong. I need go back to where it branch started. So I find this prompt and make an edit there and say, no, CGLib, go with ByteBuddy or vice versa. And every not relevant things is disappeared. Sure, after I took everything to my personal log, the personal knowledge base, the things which are important for me. Okay. One more important thing, when you clarify something which is not directly relevant and cannot help you later to understand what was in this chat, do it in another window. Okay. For example, you want to, no matter, it was enough examples. And note, in new chat, you don't have existing context. It can be a problem. You need to take it in account, but you can copy paste part of the previous prompt to the new one and continue there. If it will take too much time, remember that you have the previous option to continue here, and then with the edit to fix and delete all the history. And the last, but the most important thing, think about it, think good about it, and tell to all your managers. I think it can be a good idea how should it need to work. After you did that, you need to provide the good name to the chat and place it in the comments. You know what? Let me talk before the last killing feature. When chat is finished, give good name to it or delete it. I will add it here, or delete it. What do I mean? It's not only important to keep the chat history clean in one chat. It's important not to keep all dirty chats with where I just checked something, I conversated about the weather, and nothing informative for the long period of time is needed for me. Just delete this chat, because you can make the chat history of ChatGPT very strong weapon with the time. You can invest in that since today. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it will not be like this, but I think we can try it not cost a lot of money to do what I'm saying. And I'm saying when you finish conversation, your task is complete. Now you start in the new task, new conversation. The previous one should be renamed. You know how to do that. You go here and you say solid principle in the Railsa. Is this name is good for me? Or I can rename it to something more easy to search. Okay, because if I have this very important chat, but it doesn't have a good name, I will never find it. And if I can't provide a good name because this is not really important code or it's just a mess, why to keep this chat? Just delete it at all. Okay, and after you provided a good name, you going to the classes which was influenced by this ChatGPT and say something like name of the prompt. And now think about next situations. Your team lead comes to you and say, remember 3 months ago you fixed this bug, so you not really fixed it, it still exists. Or remember the feature you developed, go back there and we need to change something, or we need to add something. And then you open the class and you say, wow, it was half a year ago, I don't remember, but there is a chat, there is a link to my personal history chat, and I can see what I've done there, and I can remember what was there, and I can even continue from that point. Okay, so this is rule number 1. Place this chat name in comments of each generated class. Okay, now let's see how do we solve the problem we have right now. Remember that now we have more than one implementation found for the metric collector. So I want that we do have some external configuration file where I can provide all these mappings. Okay, so what will it be? Property file, XML file, Java file, Groovy file, or Kotlin file. Do you know what that? This is the supported config files of Spring. But what they do not support is JSON configuration file. So let me ask ChatGPT, can you update a config implementation okay, let's take this. Let's go back here, ChatGPT 4. Can you update a config implementation to read the binding of the interface against implementation from the JSON file, and only in case if doesn't exist, then use scanning approach. Okay, it's expensive to scan. First of all, we need to see maybe it's already written in config. If not, we can scan. Let me see what ChatGPT 3 will do. Okay. Oh, he continued his object factory. No, I need to provide too many information to it because he's behind us. Let's see, it's ChatGPT 4. Okay, maybe I was needed to say write only the config class. I didn't say that. No. Okay. So we have a map. We have again. You see, it doesn't help that I already once I said that I love I love sneaky throws. Okay, but I have one more rule regarding this later. Now mapper read value JSON blah 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 pass to the file. I don't love that it's not only one. No, it's in constructor. Okay, good. Okay, let's try to take okay, here is okay, it seems good, and I even have example how my JSON file should look like. Okay, looks not bad, let me take a chance. Let me take it again. No. Yeah, I know that I have the copy button, but I don't want the object factory. I need only this. And my fix is only inside config. I want to teach my config to work not only with the scanner, but with, okay, maximum can do Control Z. Okay. What's going on again with this? Let me ask ChatGPT, and where I will do that in the new chat. But now okay, or maybe I can, no. Yes, I can fix it. I can fix it to delete it. I don't want to provide too much information. It has compilation error. Let him think by himself. I will not explain. Too politically correct. He's always say that I'm right. In the context of entire get implementation cloud method, it will look like this. Okay, so he fixed something. Okay, let take him a chance. Okay, he did something. He did something, and now and he says that here should be no, his fix is not working. Okay, Control Z. Let me. Okay, so what I can do, I can maybe just take a needed part. In the real life, I would spend an additional time. Just because we are in the middle of the talk, I don't want to spend the time. But in the real life, it was very important for me to spend no matter how many time to or not to use this ChatGPT for this task at all, or to complete this solution with it. Okay. Let's do like this. Let's compare that. Okay, now I need an object mapper. In any case, where is the dependencies of object mapper came from? You remember my poem was clean from the history of IntelliJ. Okay, no matter. We know how to add the dependency to the object mapper, and maximum IntelliJ knows how to do that. You can do alt enter and ask him to add the dependency, but it's already here. Okay, so this is okay. Okay, let's take it. Let's take everything. I need this part to put somewhere aside. Let me put it here. What happened? Okay, it seems like we fixed the problem. Let's see, the get implementation class method taking an interface, then no, it's not a good solution. Okay, now let's see this one. No. Didn't comment. Okay. Class T. No, the get implementation class doesn't have a problem. We have another problem. Okay, guys, let me cheat. Let me take the config from maybe from here even. Yeah. I knew that it will be a problem with config, that there is a chance. I will start the second part from understanding what was the mistake, and we will fix it forever. For now, that's what I'm going to do. Again, the code I'm putting here is the code I received from one of the versions of JSON. Not object factory, config. What's going on? Okay, file input stream. Okay, so I have config JSON file in the root of my project. I don't need getter meanwhile. Or maybe. Okay, so let's see. First of all, in the constructor of config, we reading the JSON file. Then with object mapper, we reading it into the map of string against string. And then we just put everything we have there. And what should we have there? We should have JSON like this. Let me find the config JSON file. He's empty. And here I will write that I need your package, your name. So it should be com.epam. You know what the artifact ID? It's dev relish. Dev relish? Dev relu потихонечку, dev relu. Dev relish optimistic metrics collector, and it will be no, it's the name of the implementation of the Mystic Metric Collector. Mystic Metric Collector, and here is Metrics Collector interface. Okay, let's see if it helps, and then we will figure out. Okay, get implementation. Get implementation. It was called different. All right, let's try it again. Okay, now it's working, and we can see that we fix the problem. Just let's understand what is going on in config now. So config now has both the map and the scanner. And in the beginning, he's reading the JSON file, and he's filling the map of the names of the interface against implementation. And in the only public method I have, which is get implementation, oh, compute if absent. Wow, fine. Usually he is not using it. I need to ask him. Okay, but today he's in a good mood in this bind compute if absent. So we say if this interface already exists, you just need to get it from there, and otherwise we need to invoke the find implementation logic, and the result will go to the map as well. And here we use the previous code. Okay, now guys, I think we will stop. Meanwhile, now I want to show you one. No. Let's summarize what we received till now, and maybe we'll spend 5 additional minutes to give additional chance to ChatGPT, because now I'm feeling like we're proving that it's wasting my time, but actually it's not always like this. And maybe it's because of the exciting of the talk, it can influence as well, but let's give him the last chance before we will make a break for 72 hours. Summarization before, why do we have all this stuff? We have one central place where all objects can be created. Now we have the flexibility. In case we need to change implementation, we have one place where it should be done. Before factory will return an object, it can configure it according to some configurations we can invent. And we can use later all this central point to be as a cache for all singletons we have, and to wrap it with a context like Spring did. But now I want to see if I can use the benefit of that I have one central point. So let's go back here, and let's look on my optimistic metric collection. So we said that my manager told me that it should be random numbers between 1 and 4. And my manager loves to say a lot of random numbers, let's say, for example. It's not really my manager's love, right, to do that. And in case this is repeatable code, every time I here and there need injection of random numbers, is just an example. I understand that injection of random numbers is not very useful example in the real life, but it's just an example what factory can do before returning an object to you. So let me, we even not check it, I want to show you something interesting. If we look what we need to develop, we want to have some convention like annotation, inject random int, which will be, we can provide min and max in order to configure the range. Now, we need to think about some mechanism which will support that annotation, and it cannot be factory because we love single responsibility. The responsibility of the factory is to create an object, but not to configure them. And now when I'm thinking about it, when you break single responsibility, you in the LLM's world, it's even worse, because you know why we spent such a lot of time. Maybe we spent a lot of time, but we can get some good conclusion now. If I was splitted my task to more single responsibilities, like we already have a code which knows to be a config against scanning packages. Now we want additional feature of config to scan JSON file. So if I was encapsulated it to one additional small service and was asked from ChatGPT, please generate me some helper of the config, which encapsulate the logic of reading from JSON file. And even if I have a problems, I'm fixing only the problems of this particular thing and not the problems I already solved. So we want single responsibility, and it's good for chatting with ChatGPT to work with that. So we don't want that our factory now will be overheaded with additional stuff of logic which configure objects according to random annotation. So we need to think about somebody else who will do that. And I'm thinking this one could be something like inject random int annotation configurator. What do you think about this name? And if you remember, I already said that if you developing some beam post processor in Spring, you need to have a long names, and you maybe thought it was just for fun. Now let me show you. I hope that it will not disappoint me today in that, at least. Look at my prompt, right? Write and inject annotation. It's not. I'm not cheating, right? It's just you can try it at home. Write and inject annotation object. That's what I name. I want to inject random int annotation. Inject random. Inject random int annotation object configurator. Like I have object factory, I want to have several maybe object configurators, configurator, and let's see without any explanation what it will do, because I have one suggestion and we can check it with the time. You see, pretty good, huh? He says, if you want to write inject random int annotation object configurator, let's assume we have custom annotation inject random int, otherwise it's meaningless. Okay, so it provided min and max annotation with parameters min and max, and now he says inject random int, it should contain some random inside, and it will receive an object. And look at that. He even says implement interface configurator, because he understood from the current context that it will be additional configurators. And here he said we have the interface of configurator class, and this is a logic which do the correct thing. And in the next session, we will integrate it with existing part, and we'll continue to develop our framework, and we'll continue to additional advices. But before summarization, I want to say you rule number 2. You can try that. Be concise when writing prompts. I think it's vice versa from you heard, but try that technique at least when you're talking about technical programming. Because if you spend in a lot of time in the beginning from scratch, you say, okay, I need to explain that I want that my factory will support inject random int annotation, and I need some configurator, and I can provide some examples and some formats and a lot of stuff. But finally, maybe the result will not be a little better than I will receive from super short prompt. You saw, I'm never asked, say to him, you are experienced engineer, think like you are senior developer. I'm just asking write and inject random int annotation object configurator, and he got the idea. So what I love to do, I'm writing the shortest prompt when I can, because I don't want to spend my time, because I'm tired after writing a long prompt, because I don't know what will be the problems. The longer prompt I have, the harder for me from the beginning to understand what was good for ChatGPT in this prompt and what was the problem in this prompt. If I'm starting from one sentence and then okay, without saying and don't use stinky froze and don't do that and maybe some additional explanation, and I don't even need to wait when he will stop generating. I'm just starting the generation and I say, okay, no, I need to clarify this thing and this thing, and then it, like, conversation with a real person, and not like, let me think half an hour, I will write you a long instruction. Okay, you will maybe you will write finally a long instruction, but start from the shortest prompt you can. Don't spend your time and don't spend your the energy of your brain. Then you analyze the answer, and then you edit the prompt even before it completed maybe, and you repeat it until you have the good result. And if your fixes are small, and you're using ChatGPT 4 and you limited the number of questions per hour, so you can fix several things altogether. Like, like you got not bad result, but you say, okay, now I don't want the exception. I don't want. I need generic, the good generic, and I don't want something else. And you can do it all together. Okay, so guys, I need to switch. By the way, I can say rule number 3. Rule number 3 is never try to aim to 100%. Okay, because you can waste a lot of time. If you have 80% of good solution and you know how to do 20%, additional 20% by yourself, especially if it's related to some refactor, in this code, I need to move this method, extract this method to there, and do it by yourself. Otherwise, you will waste a lot of time. Okay, so we will continue with this talk. This is a summary till now. So let's summarize the rules before starting. Explain your style. It will not really help, but you can try that. I mean, when you just open the chat and now you have the task to complete, you can talk with him to explain who are you. I love sneaky throws. I love Stream API. I love casting. I hate checked exceptions. You can explain that, and it may help, but not 100% guaranteed. Chat history can be very valuable for you, so keep it clean and useful. Give good names to your chat, and place this chat name in comments of each generated class. Start with short prompts. Don't try to get 100% of result. Aim to 80-20. So, guys, I hope to see you all after a small break for 17 hours in the Friday, and I hope I will have not limited time, and I believe 2 hours will be enough to finish everything what's remained for us and to have additional conclusions. So have a good weekend later. Have a good day and see you soon.